Interesting. It cut off again. Okay, I guess that's my way of knowing that I'm not supposed to be rambling in that direction. I woke up with thoughts in my mind. And like I said, I was saying the first half is maybe I'm supposed to learn to edit. I don't know. It's stopping on me. But after I double checked that these thoughts weren't just coming in willy-nilly from the collective, but it was about parenting, of all things. Well, my grandchildren here are out of town. My son. But it's like, you don't have to be a parent to absolutely unconditionally love someone. And that's an easy kind of way to mount your heart. The shields we have put throughout our life is remember the unconditional love you had when you're a baby, when you had children, when they were little, and even probably now as adults. I still do. But as a parent, a grandparent, whatever, parents doesn't mean you have to give birth to them. You want the best for them. You know, they ask you for things and you want to give it to them. And if you can't, you wish you could. You know how much we love our children and just other people that even aren't our children, but nieces and nephews or whomever. You want to make them happy. My significant other, all I want for him is to be happy. And so I can imagine God or our higher power, the one that or like a little fractal, if our children had, comes from us and we feel that way. What makes you think God doesn't feel that a trillion fold? But just like we become our teenagers, 4 teenagers flew in. I have teenagers plus grandchildren, so you all know how that is if you've got them. At least they are so free. I was telling my son, you know how they're acting? They're acting and thinking like we're supposed to be. It is so funny to see that. They're already there. But, these were allowed to spiritually develop, I guess, on their own and have freedom. And it is scary for us that weren't programmed that way. But there's a lot of children that are just already there. They're born that way. And they've had, you would think, because they come from a broken family or parents that don't care or whatever. And that's probably why that happened. Because that's what they needed. To stay as much as possible. They obviously still need guidance. It's a hard transition for us that were programmed. We're like in the middle, the future people are, more awakened. My granddaughter's been able to read and read since she was 4. Write. She's 5 in journals. She asks me how, to spell certain words that she can't remember, but she does it. She makes stories up and everything. Both of those particular grandchildren. But Source just wants us to be happy and thrive and have everything that our hearts desire. And just like our other children, they don't listen. They don't listen. They're so I think all teenagers are made that way. They all go against the norm. You know, my son blames our generation for messing up the world and from our decisions. And I think we used to do that too. You know, we all blame the last generations for the condition of the world. And, you know, they're not wrong. But you got to stop playing the blame game. I mean, okay, you see it, you call it out, and now you work on yourself if you want changes. You know, that's the secret that they would tell us that. You hear it all the time. You hear it in the Bible when you go to church, when you have now on the internet, you know, they tell you, you know, they tell you how to fix it, what's needed. You know, each generation tries, but that's the thing. Each generation has tried, and the voices have been out there. The truth has been out there. So why, in God's name, are we? It hasn't really made a difference, or at least it seems like it doesn't make a difference, because it's not supposed to. Not here on 3D Earth that we are stuck, blessed, decided to come here. This is a school of hard knocks if you choose to, because that's why it gives us free will. You go have free will, sweetheart. You go do what you want. Now, you know, we're going to guide you, but you got to listen. And, you know, they put this veil over us when we're little. We don't remember garbage, or we do remember, and then people start telling you you're crazy. My daughter used to cry and cry and cry when she was about a year and a half, 2. She would just cry, and I said, sweetheart, why are you crying? And she says, I miss my husband. And I go, oh, honey. And so she got a little older, kind of asked her, well, what happened? And but anyways, from what I got, she remembers she lived in a high rise, an old high rise, something like Chicago, New York. I envisioned, you know, apartments. And I don't think LA, but that someone had slit his throat, and so she remembers that. And of course, that faded. But I've always told my children, you know, you got to give little ones the benefit of the doubt. My granddaughter, the one that's 5, my son was telling, yeah, she says that she has nightmares at night. And I've always told him, you got to give children the benefit of the doubt. Children don't lie. You know, there's a certain time in their lives where they'll start, you realize, oh, wait, you're not telling the truth. But for the most, when they start. But for the most part, they don't lie. We think, oh, you're just making it up. An imaginary friend. You know, my granddaughter that's here from Ohio, when I went to visit, they were having some very bad times, my son. And they were living in a home where she was seeing this evil clown in her playroom. I know, playroom, right? Third world problems. We're so blessed. It was horrible. And I talked to my brother, and he told me it was too strong for me or my son, that it was too powerful to not confront it. But those were difficult times for her. But my son did believe her. And my other son says, my 5-year-old granddaughter says, well, I don't know, she's really having bad dreams, or she just wants to come and lay down with mommy and daddy. And I just looked at him, We got to give them the benefit that they have bad dreams. And yeah, it takes time for our babies to disconnect from us, but you know, she sleeps alone now, and in our family, I guess the closest I can describe it, or they've labeled it night terrors. It was like when I turned 15, I started having them. And I didn't really realize it. I didn't know what they were, but I didn't like them. They were scary as hell. I'd come home from school really super, super tired, drained, and I would go to my room and take a nap, and nobody else is there, and I'm on my belly and sleeping, and then it's like I hear, shh, she's gonna wake up. Like, what the hell? I was paralyzed. I couldn't move my head to see who was in the room, and when I did, there was nobody there. So that's been going on since I was 15. Fast forward, don't want to bore you guys too much, but I started noticing my children started having those type night terrors when they turned around 15. So I think it's puberty. And I guess that's nothing new. But it seems like these grandchildren are more awakened. And you can't just say, oh, it's your imagination, go to bed. My poor cousin, nephew, my brother's son, was being raised by my mother, and as much as she bore us amazing kids, I'm gonna put me in there. My little nephew would she would tell him to go upstairs, and that she was living upstairs and I was living downstairs, and he would tell like whatever, so send him upstairs, and he would be crying, and he didn't want to, and there was like just a door. It was like an old 2-story house that was divided into 2 apartments, but later we find out that he could see a ghost. He saw this man, this up on top of the steps. The stairs was this, see a person that had blue jeans and like a wife beater. Sorry, I don't know what else to call them. Tank tops. Thank you, tank tops, Belinda. Anyways, but he didn't have any head, and he would be crying, and my mom would force him to go upstairs. So those are, poor baby. And I didn't know this until he was an adult. So pay attention to your little ones. There really is things out there. And if you don't care, I'm not care, if you don't believe in that kind of stuff, well, just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Try to keep that kind of attitude. Again, there are good people, there are evil people. There is things that spread love, and just like animals, you can look at it everywhere. So I don't know where this was coming from. I just kind of burned out of bed with my hot flash, and I was fighting it. See, that's the thing, I'm on this journey, and to do everything, to whenever God calls to say something, for me to speak, I got to speak it. And I'm laying in there, and I just wake up and I start having these thoughts about, parenting, and how God loves us so much. Why wouldn't he? I mean, we love a fractal of what he loves. And of course, he's going to want to give us everything that we need. Now, I remember this. I go, well, my son wanted a BB gun, and I go, no, because you're going to hurt somebody. That's the same thing, I mean, you ask for things and God knows it's going to hurt you. It's not good for you. So, you know, He's not going to give it to you. Maybe until you're more mature, able to handle it, you know. I mean, you have a 9-year-old that wants a gun and has no clue, and his personality is this little HD, what is it? Um, Hyperactive. Anyways, that one I said, okay, okay, fine, fine. I finally said, okay, fine. But I want you to write a piece of paper and sign it that if you ever shoot anybody with this, I'm going to take it away from you immediately, and that's it. Because he was born to be a lawyer. He would have been a great defense lawyer. So he did. I wrote it out, and he signed it, and he got his BB gun, and less than a few days, he shot his friend. And I took it away, and he never disagreed or never said anything, never fought me on it or anything. So, I don't know. A lot of us need to be reminded of that, when we ask for things, including this girl right here. um, that might, and I did hear this kind of from somebody in a different way, so I don't know, maybe this is going to click for somebody. But oh yes, sorry, squirrel. I'm so squirrely. The When I was laying in bed, and I would just boom woke up in super hot flash, and I kept like resisting. Well, I have a full house. My son and my granddaughter are asleep in the I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, so my living room has my grandchildren, my visiting children, and then we're asleep. Everybody's asleep in the house. There's nowhere to record. I can't do this. And I was like, porch. But my porch is a wreck. I just kind of straightened it up. Look how much I'm blessed. The mess that I have. Yeah. It was pool day with my granddaughter, so this small porch is full of pool stuff. See, it's another blessing. That this is an issue, this is a problem. It's not a problem, but it's like, I can't. Everything's a wreck. Porch. It's dark. And then I looked out, and it was a little after 5, and I know the sun, there's enough light out here. And I said, okay. So here I am. And this is my journey. There's a wonderful prayer that I have in my meditation list. And it's by this amazing woman named Cheryl. And she made a guided meditation. I would highly, highly, highly suggest you guys go look at, listen to it. But you wind up summoning the angels for the day. It's about our heart. It's just one of the best meditations that I have. Ways for someone to start the day, to try it. It's a big, the picture's a big heart, different color, different sizes and colors of that come out like pink. What else does he want me to tell you? This is so much fun. I never thought. I'm not a speaker. I share. I'm definitely a procrastinator. And I have a self-image problem. That comes from having 7 brothers. Siblings are horrible. At least mine were. But mommies and daddies. Children nowadays, well, since, what was it, 70s, let alone, more and more they're awakened. Just like today, a veil. We don't have a veil. What makes you think our children? The children are always the ones that are ahead of the game because they're the ones bringing in the new stuff. And so please, please, I mean, we should always love and care for our children. As a society, as a world, we really need to give them grace. I'm not saying to let them run amok, because it's still a dangerous world out here, but, a lot of us are divinely protected. And one of the things that we have that, is control issues. And of course, you love so much that you don't want them to get hurt. Yeah? So you do things, implant things like don't allow them to do things, don't allow them to go places, just do whatever the hell they want to do when they're young. And us that are, young in this particular road, you want to do here and go there and this and that. It's like, hey. All in due time. All in due time. You don't let a 3-year-old go to the mall by itself. You don't let a baby change its own diaper. So it's the same thing. If you're getting frustrated with you think you're not being blessed and your life hasn't changed, maybe you're just not looking. Remember, perspective. Everything is about perspective. We can't see the blessings if all we see is negativity. I used to tell my kids, you need to learn, when you say yes, I say yes when you want something, and I say yes, you get all happy, yay. Well, there's going to be times that I am going to say no. And for no reason, I'm just going to say no. Why? Because I want you to learn to have the same grace and happiness when I say yes to something or I say no to something, to be able to accept that no with grace and happiness. Because there's a reason. Even if it's just to teach you to be able to accept no as easily as you accept, and nicely as you accept a yes. And I think that's kind of missing in some people, I guess, some children. Excuse me. My coffee mug. My place is a wreck. Anyways, it's just like I'm all sore, and I said, when your kid's sore, when you work out or you've been active more than your normal, you wind up, oh my God, I'm sore. But that's a good sore, right? Because you've moved around and your body's not used to it, so it gets a little sore. So it's a good sore. Unlike when you've hurt yourself and had an accident and you're in pain, that's bad. Well, that's Then you can say, you have an illness or a condition or something, and yes, I did have this thought the other day. You know how I've always known that our mind is very powerful. I've known that for decades. And I've known that we can make ourselves sick. And it's been scientifically proven. I don't know if I mentioned this before in another video, but we can make ourselves sick. This isn't just like spirituality, woohoo, Wicca, witchy things. No. So a lot of this stuff has been proven to be true. So can you imagine if we can think ourselves sick, and we can create with our thoughts? Well, come on, people, think about it. That's why Courtney says you're not sick. You're not sick. There's nothing wrong with you. Exactly. Exactly. In the 3D world, manifestation takes time, up to years. I remember being in Ohio in my 40s or something, and said I cried for a pool every year. Every year. And I had this thought, I'm going to be in my 60s by the time I get my pool. Why am I going to want it then? I'll be all wrinkly. I won't, Yeah, it's very, I didn't think I was vain, but obviously I was. So here I am, 69 years old. I have been living here since right before COVID happened. I got my pool. And a jacuzzi behind those bushes over there. You can't see it. And there's another pool on the other side. And I'm 69. So seriously? I call that being bedazzled. Be careful what you ask for. Remember that movie, Bedazzled? Oh, I love that movie. I kept asking for something, but Satan would always mess it up. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And if it's been a long time, rewatch it, because the universe is just like that. You have to be very precise, like computers. They say that some people say this is like a computer program, right? Well, garbage in, garbage out. Or you have to really, really enter the data precisely of what you want, or you're gonna get bedazzled. It's like my significant other says, I wish I could. I think it's really cool to drive around in a golf cart. I said, that would be really cool. I want to drive around in a golf cart, have that kind of lifestyle. And I said, yeah, me too. So I always pray for him to get what he wants, because I want him to be happy. So that was when we lived in Ohio. So it probably took about 10 years, maybe not that much, that long. He's got a job. Obviously, we don't have that lifestyle, but his job, he drives around in a he gets to drive around in a golf cart. So he got what he wanted, just not the way he thought or he wanted, exactly, because you got to be very specific. I have found that out many times. And maybe because the bedazzling comes when you do not that was before I learned about manifestation through the heart and the singularity and all kinds of different names. But yeah, that's what happened. So if you don't want to get bedazzled by the universe because you're not very clear, and it takes a while, so you could be, I wish this, and then later you kind of like a little different, or you're not sure. And it's like, you already have something coming down the pipeline, and then you change it, and then, maybe if you realize maybe you're bedazzling yourself. I don't know. So stop thinking. Feel it. Not saying have a blank mind, like disconnected from from humanity. But when you go into your heart first, you can exist there 24/7. You just gotta, like if it comes to your mind, I always think if I think about it, that means I gotta do something about it. So if you think, oh, am I living in my heart? Then take a, it gets quicker and easier each time you do it. Take a moment and do whatever it is that but it has to be from love. If you don't use love, if you don't connect to source, if you don't connect to the higher powers, our Mother Earth and God, become and feel their love going into your heart, and then see yourself drop from your mind to your heart. If you don't do that, if that feeling isn't there, then you're not in it. You're not in it. You're not in the 0 point. You got to feel it. You got to know it. You got to believe it. You literally can see. There are actual rooms. There you can see it with, I don't have that kind of vision. I think the scale is more like, I have more of a like way feminine, because way feminines really don't really see. My dreams are vivid. They're like, here. But my imagination isn't like that. My vision isn't too much like that. I know, but I don't see. And some people, are like, they can see things like here. But it's real, people. It's real. And if you find yourself being bedazzled, being frustrated, then you need to continue working, because you cannot enter your heart without childlike, unconditional love for yourself, for God, and for this wonderful planet. Okay, I know times have changed, and femininity is here, and the power of intention is absolutely amazing, and the veil is gone. If you're having problems, that's what's happening. Just keep working on it. Give yourself grace and love. Our babies, when we were little humans, we weren't born walking. It's baby steps. And each step you take forward, each time you show up for yourself and love yourself, it starts right now is the thing. It's because there's no veil. It starts unraveling faster. So open your heart. Open your heart. Love. Don't be afraid to love. We've been yelling at this, back in the days, forever. It feels like this is it. Can't wait to hear all of your guys' things. My challenge is to really fit all this in. I got what I wanted, of my son to come visit with his children. I prayed and prayed and asked, and in my heart, and here they are, plus 3 other teenagers. But it's going to be busy. So I have to still continue to do my commitment. Thank God I'm retired. I love being retired. Love it, love it, love it, love it. But that just shows me why my daughter can't take the time. She wishes she was retired. She can't take the time because she works so much. She still has teenagers at home and still gotta work. She's still stuck there. Very intelligent woman, very spiritual, very open. I haven't had a chance to get her to come over, and so we can share. This X Factor stuff with her that but it's not meant for her yet, I guess. I don't know. Oh, she definitely is doing God's work. She is. Every day of her life. She is, yes, she's been on her journey. And maybe that's why it's not time to go here. Yes. As parents, we try to control our children out of love and fear. But see, that's the thing. Fear. Fear. If you have fear, it doesn't matter if it's fear for something on yourself or your children. Fear is fear. It doesn't matter. Then you don't trust. You're not trusting in the universe. Because if you know in your heart, in your soul, that source is going to take care of you because we're divinely protected. You don't think divine children, divine humans wouldn't be divinely protected? See, that's the thing. Then I'm not saying go jump off a roof or in front of firing, bullets. It's going to be stupid. But he does, the universe, Mother, the higher powers do protect their children. We are protected. So are your children. Oh my goodness. We will protect our children whichever way we can. You don't think our universe? Just remember that. 1,000,000,000 times fold. But you have to believe it. Any shadow of a doubt, just like excuse me, when Jesus walked on the earth. Walked on the water. Sorry. I can't remember which apostle did get off the boat and start walking. And as soon as he had the just teeniest little doubt, boom, he went in the water. But he was trying to teach them no fear. No fear. And fear, because of fear, all of the other things come into play, whatever it is. So fear. It's hard for us, our generation, a younger generation. It's a lot easier. It's just hard. It's supposed to be hard, damn it. This planet is a school. We're come here to learn. We're come here to experience everything, like everybody says, and feeling pain and sorrow and tragedy and oh God, horrible things. One of the things that all this shit that's going on in the world, and all these things we do to each other. I used to think, cop out, oh, well, they chose it, when they were, before they incarnated, they chose to do all these experience all of these things, and I said, cop out. I don't know if that's true or not yet. I do not know. I hear what people say, and I hear what people say that comes from people that I highly respect. And I believe what they say, even though sometimes it's a little difficult for me to believe, not believe, but take it as an answer, because it's like, hi. Just like everybody, Courtney, that Zero, we cannot save the world in the normal fashion. Humanity has tried. Luminaries have tried. There's been many before us. And But it doesn't mean for us to stop trying. And that's the thing. It's ourselves, ourselves, ourselves. And it does. You start working on yourself. It sounds stupid, but you work on yourself. Well, you got to learn to love yourself before you can love anybody else. You know, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. How do I do that? How do I do that? Tell me, how in the hell do I do that? Yeah, right? I hate it when people say, "Oh, you should do this." Okay, well, tell me. Well, it's for you to find out. Ugh, you know. It's like, don't ever stop doing yoga. Why? I don't know. That's just what they tell you. Never stop doing yoga. Once you start, you should never stop. And I go, well, why? I don't know. It's like, oh my God. Well, because I learned, because once you do yoga and then you stop it in your life, it is very difficult to get back into it. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But it is. That's my personal opinion and what I've seen. Once you get going, I don't know if because, ignorance, your body doesn't know what's going on, and you just, oh my God, it just, it's amazing. And then when you stop and your body's like, hell no, I ain't gonna get into that again, that routine, I don't know, or it just, but that's the reason, okay? So if somebody would have told me the reason, I would have never stopped, but it's dumb. That's why I'm here. I get a solution, I'm gonna pass it on. Why? Whether we have time for the 40, 50, 60 years, who knows? And who cares? You know, it's like, at least for me, I have a question, I get an answer, I'm going to pass on that answer. If I have a how to do something, it's like, why are you going to reinvent the wheel? Just tell everybody how to give them the blueprints of how to invent the wheel. And that's and that's what's happening right now. I do see that. And Courtney is one of those, and Maria and Drumvalo. They give you the information and how to. That's probably why I resonate with them, right? But yes, oh my goodness, it's been 42 minutes. Okay, so I guess this is it. I won't be able to go back to sleep, so my day is gonna start. Everybody's still asleep because we all had a late night, but I'm all juiced up. I always do get juiced up when I start sharing. Okay, I hope you guys have a wonderful happy Father's Day to you daddies. I unfortunately don't have a daddy to spend with my kinda. I was told my grandson is the incarnation of my dad. He's 7 right now, so knowing what kind of life my daddy had when he was growing up, and if this is his incarnation, he's living a wonderful life. He was born in the Depression, and now he's born here with parents that have abundance. That is so awesome. I hope it is true, because he deserved it. He deserves it. Call him my little daddy. My son gave him my father's nickname. Anyways, we are all blessed. I know some more than others, and my heart and love goes out to the souls that are out there suffering. It's time for me to go back into the grid and do some work. Maybe I'll see you guys up there. I love every single one of you. Probably get tired of hearing that, but it's true. Have a wonderful Father's Day. Be safe. Have fun. Remember, we are divinely protected. You know it. You're. Mwah. Goodbye.